did, because it allowed me to, one, focus on my own development, which is part of the framework. Work on yourself, and we hear this all the time. If you want to advance for your clients, for yourself, for your own happiness, work on yourself. The second thing was think about how you're interacting with others. Is it really accomplishing your task? Are you really being kind? Are you actually living what you say you want to do? That sort of, are you walking the walk instead of talking the talk? And so that's always important. And the next thing is, how do you then take this information that you've learned yourself, and is this something that would be valuable for others to learn? So it's sort of those three components: work on yourself, see how it impacts others, and use that to help others, and then can I bring this into a wider environment? And on a practical level, that worked really well, because a really practical example is the anger. People are angry, I get angry. My clients are really angry when they show up. So I quickly realized that knowing about anger, understanding anger in me, would help me understand the anger in my client. And that if I could relate to that anger and understand what it meant, then I could help them to some extent move in the right direction of dealing with that anger, so that I could then focus on how can I solve this lawsuit problem without having this heavy overlay of anger in it. So from a very practical point of view, work on my own anger, figure out how it works for somebody else, empathize, talk about the anger involved in a lawsuit, help move that anger a bit aside so that we can focus on the specific issues of the case and get them resolved much more quickly. And I found that structure to work really well. So then I thought, okay, are there any other issues that that would, from a personal point of view, be something I could learn about, and then translate it to helping my client, and then translate it to helping with lawsuits. And I learned that interpersonal dynamics, not just anger as an example, but all of the interpersonal dynamics and all the pieces that I can think up, if I learn those pieces for me better, then I can help my clients deal with them better. Then I can help that piece of the emotionality that tends to overlay many lawsuits and help move that to the side and focus on the problem solving. And I found that to be really, really effective. One of the things that I've sort of thought about a lot in my life is letting go, or forgiveness. How that works, what that means. Because I think as human beings, we all have plenty of opportunities to need to forgive either someone or ourselves. And I've realized that many of the clients that come to me have a similar problem, in that their legal problem is often interwoven with challenges around forgiving or letting go. So in my world, for instance, as an employment lawyer, I may see somebody who has had an ongoing problem with a supervisor. And in order for that person in order for me to even address their lawsuit or potential lawsuit, I need them to sort of let go a little bit of that anger they're having just at their supervisor, so that we can focus in on other pieces of their case. Because otherwise we're constantly being dragged back to, but my supervisor did this. And 6 months in they did this, and 9 months in they did this, and then after a year they did this, and now I have to leave. And as I start to focus on the lawsuit, again, we're brought back to, well, but 6 months in, this is what happened, and 9 months in, this is what happened. And that's fine to know, and it's important information, but it's not helpful to constantly, for me and my time, to always be focused on that, because there are so many other parts of litigation. There is the filing of documents, the filing of discovery, the answering of discovery, the asking questions of not just the supervisor, but all the other people who are involved. And if I only focus on that one piece, I can't progress in the other aspects. And my client can't be of help to me very much in the other aspects, because again, we get pulled back to, but what about what my supervisor did, and what are we going to do about that, and how come, and what for? Okay, so I look at my own ability to let go or to deal with forgiveness, and I think, okay, how did that work for me? Was it helpful for me to have somebody constantly asking me about it? Was it helpful for me to have somebody maybe not asking about it, maybe suggesting I talk to somebody else about it? What was helpful for me? And then I think about it with this particular client, and I think, maybe this approach that I used, dealing with something I had to let go with might be helpful for them. So I say, hey, you're spending a lot of time focusing on your supervisor, and it's making it difficult for me to do the other work I need to do. Would it be helpful for you to talk to somebody? Or would it be helpful for you to write about that and send me and put it in writing to me, but our time together will be focused on other pieces. I'll read it, I'll hear you, but our time together will be focused on other things. And so I would sort of practice, what worked, what didn't work, how did that work? And through that, I developed a method of sort of a better, I think, way of interacting with my clients in terms of the lawyer-client relationship that was helpful. And then I used the same information for my relationship with other lawyers. Most of lawyers have fairly antagonistic relationships with other lawyers. They're trained to be on the other side. And it's almost like a competitive match where you get bonus points the more adversarial or the more hostile you are. Because obviously if you're hostile and adversarial, it demonstrates that you're not on the other person's side. So it's a showmanship of, I'm not on your side, and I can prove it, and I don't have to be on your side, and my job is to win. And so if I seem like I might be on your side, it might show some weakness in me, and I don't want that. And so I'm going to, and I wasn't trained otherwise, and no one has shown me otherwise, so I'm just going to do what I've seen that worked, and it's frankly how I was treated in law school anyway, and I'm going to be hostile toward you. And I realized, gosh, if you're trying to bring civility back into the practice of the law, that would mean that I would have to be civil in the face of that, because that's just where things are at. You have to sort of take the environment of what you have if you want to improve it. So I thought, okay, how can I use my thinking about win-win scenarios, my thinking about respect, my thinking about dignity in relating to others, how can I use that to relate to this lawyer, and will that make a difference in how they relate back to me? And what I realized is that the more I can stand in being a civil lawyer, the easier it is for another lawyer who's not there to start moving in that direction toward being civil back toward me. It's very difficult to continue to be mean and aggressive towards somebody who is not in any way being mean and aggressive toward you. You start thinking, well, maybe I'm missing something, maybe the energy sort of starts feeling like it needs to relax, and you start relating better, I think. Patricia Sun uses a term, which we probably may have heard of a different term to describe the same facts, but the term is matching energy, and I think it's a useful term. Whatever energy I have is going to be matched by the energy of someone else, and their energy is going to be matched by me. So if someone, for instance, comes into the room and they're really, really angry, then my natural response, sort of my default response, the magnetic response is going to be that I can readily get angry to match that. I'm going to sort of match that anger with my anger, and that's going to sort of deal with it. If someone comes in the room and they're really, really happy, then I'm going to match that with my happiness. And what's interesting about that is that you can use that knowledge to your advantage. So if someone comes in the room and they're angry, then my response, if I'm thinking about it, may be to be happy. And it makes it uncomfortable for them to just stay in that position of being angry. And I use that in terms of calmness. If the other lawyer is very upset and frustrated, and that frustration and an upset is coming at me directly, then I try to use my knowledge about not matching that, and my not getting upset and my not getting frustrated. I try to use that knowledge of, well, if I stay calm, there's a very good probability that they're going to start getting calm too.